best way for me to lose followers on Instagram is actually to post about Taylor Swift.
So in this pod, I sit down with Nomadic Matt. So he has a new book called How to Travel the World on $75 a Day. His previous book that came out a couple years ago was called How to Travel the World on $50 a Day. We talk a lot about the book publishing process, which I find fascinating. I've published books, self-published books. It's always fascinating to find out the numbers and stuff that people do. We talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about how the travel industry is shifting, changing, how travel bloggers still come and go, but it's like totally different mediums. So if you're interested, stick around, listen to this interview with Nomadic Matt, whose new book is called How to Travel the World on $75 a Day. My name is Nel Medora. Check it out. Matt Kepnes is known online as Nomadic Matt. He's one of the founders of the top travel blogs. One of the first, I don't know about one of the first, one of the top travel blogs out there. A C-list celebrity. I've traveled with you and people are like, oh my God, are you Matt? Like it's pretty wild how many people know you. And he's got a new book called How to Travel the World for $75 a Day, a sequel to How to Travel the World for $50 a day. The hell happened? Inflation, like $50 a day to $75 a day?
Yeah, inflation.
How many years ago was $50 a day book?
That was 2017.
Oh, that's not even that long ago.
Yeah,
the first 10 years.
Well, the first edition of the book came out in 2012, 2013, and then it was 2015, and then 2017. And then, COVID happened. And a lot has changed. A lot of prices have gone up since COVID.
Why don't you future-proof the book and call it How to Travel the World on $100 a Day?
I need the rest of the world places that I need the rest of inflation to catch up with that.
Is that planned for like in 2 years?
I don't know if I'll do another edition of this book. I think this is the last one.
Yeah? What is that?
I feel like this is going to be good for, another 5 to 7 years in terms of pricing and tips, as long as there's no like crazy pandemic or world collapse, this will probably be good. And then, 5, 7 years, I'll be like 50 years old. I think will want other projects.
Okay. So what happens when you have How to Travel the World for $50 a day? That did super well, right?
Yeah.
Was that a New York Times bestseller?
The second edition of it was a New York Times bestseller.
Okay. So that obviously did really well. People still buy it to this day. Are people still buying that specific book?
That book is no longer in print. So once I did this new version, the old one, no, you can't get. I mean, you can buy it secondhand, but it's not in printing anymore.
Oh, interesting. And who approaches who about this? Do you approach your publisher and be like, I want to do a new book? Or did they approach you and be like, let's update this book. Let's do another one.
Yeah. So my publisher on this book was Penguin.
Uh-huh.
And so originally the third edition was going to be the last edition. I was like, okay, I've done this 3 times, move on with life. And then just so much had changed during COVID that I didn't want my last book to be that out of date. Right. Because then, the more out of date the book is, the lower the sales are. So I was just like, what, I'm going to do one more edition. So it's like good for the rest of time or like to be my last project. So in the end of 2022, I approached my publisher about doing another edition. They said, we'll get back to you. They got back to me and said, we'll get back to you again. Then they got back to me and said, well, how much will it change? And I was like, well, a lot. It's going to be different. And they said, we actually don't want to do another edition if we have to change the typeset. So like if you get a book, right, there's certain, they typeset it. So like this is going to be page 1, this is going to be page 2 and page 3. So they didn't want an edition that would really change like that structure.
Wait, isn't this like a software that just does this or something?
But then you have to reset it for the printing. And so like now it's different page count, it's different binding. And they were just like, we don't feel like the market's there for it.
Wait, this sounds like some 1980s kind of stuff. I use a book publishing software called I think like Atticus. I pay like $100 a year for it, and it basically puts your thing and it makes it, you could see what it's going to look like on the book right away as you type.
Yeah, but they had it all kind of set up, and they didn't want to change their setup. But so they said, but we'll give you the rights to the book back. So they gave me the rights back, and then I thought about just self-publishing it because it's the infrastructure these days to publish it, distribute it into bookstores, like it's there if you want to pay for it. So, what a traditional publisher does is they front that cost, right? Because most authors don't have $100,000 to like do all that. And so I thought about, okay, well, maybe I'll just, take my savings and like front the cost.
Uh-huh.
I think I got kind of busy and I was just like, actually, I don't want to do the work. So I called my agent and she's like, I don't really want to work on this book with you anymore. And I was like, it's fine. I looped in my new agent. And he's like, yeah, I think we can get a new publisher. And I was like, the book's here. I don't need it in advance. Like, it's just, I just want someone to front the distribution costs because I didn't want to do it.
Well, I mean, so I've self-published a book before and it wasn't that hard. Now, it takes a long time to write a book. I understand. Like, it always takes way longer than you expect. But at the same time, it's not that hard. Why couldn't you just self-publish it? Like, why do people still go with publishers? I'm literally asking, like, for myself. I mean, it sounds like they don't do much.
Did you self-publish on Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not going to get you into Barnes & Noble or independent bookstores or the airport, right?
Yeah.
Going through, like, so this is what Scribe did when they were around, is that they did distribution into physical bookstores. And so there are a number of places that do that, but then you have to pre-print like 10,000 copies and they get put in warehouses and all that stuff. And so that's what the publisher really does is they have those relationships. So they do that for you. Plus, depending on how big your advance is, they can get you media, right? So like, and they also kind of like, they're like anoint you in a way, right? Like if you go with a big publisher and they kind of vet you and you like, look, I'm with Penguin Random House. So that gives you like credibility.
Yeah, it does.
And so why would you like, I don't need that credibility anymore because I already have it through previous books, right? But if you're a first time author, having that, you don't have the money for distribution. So like they distribute for you. And then you have the credibility of like Simon & Schuster, Penguin, whoever it is, has now like said I'm legit, and you can go to a physical bookstore to do that. So I didn't want to self-publish that way because I didn't want to pony up the cash up front because I'm just busy. Like you can, even if I wanted to pony up the cash, it's still like I have to deal with the logistics. I have to call the distributors. I have to set that up. I don't want to deal with that. And so we went with an imprint called Ben Bella, and they distribute. So they print it, and then they're under Simon & Schuster. So they do it, and then it's in bookstores.
So when you release a book like this, is the hope that it's just like it just gets you distribution, people sign up to your email list, or that you make money? Like what's the prime? I'm sure it's a combo of all those, but like do you actually make money off the book like when you publish it like this?
Yeah, so two ways for this. So this deal I did is a profit sharing model. So traditional publishing is you write a book, your agent shops it around, Random House is like, we love this book. Here's $100,000 to write it. That's called an advance. And then you write it, you live off that $100,000, you sell the book. And you hope it did so well and you sell so many copies, you make up that $100,000 and then some, because you don't get paid again until you earn out your advance, right? Because they're advancing future royalties. And so your royalties have to go over what they advance, and then you get paid. And that's how all my previous deals worked. This one, I didn't really care about in advance because I was writing the book anyway. I had actually wrote the book. So we did a profit sharing model, which is better long term because I don't see as much money up front, but over time, I get more money because like there's fixed costs, right? Like marketing fixed costs, personnel fixed costs. And so like as things grow, the profit from the book grows. So I get a better share of it rather than just getting like most books, you get a flat percentage, like a couple of bucks per book.
Could you live off of just your books?
Me, no. Well, I only have two books currently in circulation. So, I mean, this new book, hopefully, I mean, that would be great if I could, right? But, unless most authors cannot live off their books alone, unless they have a huge catalog, right?
Mhm.
Most authors that are like, I'm a writer and I'm only a writer, they might have 7, 8, 9 books, maybe
Mhm.
even more. Or, they just hit the jackpot and their book is so successful, it makes millions of dollars, and in theory, they can never work again.
Yeah, but that's like
Yeah,
0.01%.
yeah,
That's
that's
not
like,
Andy Weir of The Martian or something like that.
yeah, and he writes books because he likes to write books, but, James Clear wrote Atomic Habits, right? It's his only book. It sold like 20 million copies, assuming he's making $1 a book, which is probably less, you know, um, he's probably making more. I'm just like, let's throw a number out there. So he's probably made at least 20 million bucks, right?
Yeah.
He never has to work again.
Uh-huh.
Those kind of huge successful books, like you said, are 0.000001, right?
Yeah.
Most authors have a huge catalog.
Well, someone like our buddy Ryan Holiday, he put that book out, Perennial Seller, where he talks about that concept that let's say he has 3 books. When he launches his 4th book, the money actually comes from the old catalog, because there's all this hubbub about the new book, and then people are like, oh, what are these other books? And then Amazon starts recommending those books, or bookstores start selling those books, and those actually start increasing a little bit. So it's like you launch this new book, and there's a pop of money there too. But the old books also get a bunch of love and attention, and sometimes even go viral after.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best way to make to sell your old book is to write a new book for that very reason. Yeah, because again, it will help your back catalog.
That's not bad. Best way to sell your new book or your old book is to write a new book.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So like my other book, 10 Years of Nomad, which is a memoir about my time back in the world, will do better simply because people will, like Amazon will recommend them both, right? So that will sell. But that book, my publisher doesn't want to print anymore. So I'm getting the rights back to that book to redistribute under a new publisher.
And then okay, you're currently on a book tour, kind of? Yeah. So what is podcast? What is selling books now, or is it book signings, or what's like the landscape? Like what sells books? My guess is podcasts.
Yeah, a good podcast will sell a lot of books. Or like a big email list, like that's dedicated. Like I was on this email list called the Daily Drop, which is like a points and miles travel list. They have like 1 million people. It's like great business. And they featured me, and I could definitely, on the days, like the day of and the day after, I saw a spike in email signups, and like my Amazon rankings went up.
Interesting. So yeah, it sounds like podcasts are just like the new, like going on the Tonight Show or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I think still moves traditionally is like if you go on Good Morning America, that can really sell a lot of books.
Really? Oh,
Or like the Kelly Ripa one. Oh, you know who sells a lot of books? Kelly Clarkson.
The singer?
Yeah, because she's got that show.
Oh, she has like a daytime TV show.
Yeah. So like Ellen was great to sell books. Kelly Clarkson sells books. Reese Witherspoon's book club. Those kind of like celebrity driven ones can sell you a lot of books. But if you're just like going on like a morning show, no one, like, they don't have that like call to action.
Got it. All right. So I asked you a lot of book questions. So let's talk about the travel industry. Who is making money in the travel industry? I imagine there's a lot of flux with AI, all that kind of stuff changing. Is there room for an entry-level travel blogger to come by? Because it used to be that you could just start a blog and be like, hey, I'm going to tour around Colombia. And you can start bringing in sponsors and stuff like that, or get free stays stuff. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's still a thing. Less about blogs and more about like Instagrammers and TikTokers and YouTubers. But you see a lot of people enter the industry and have success, and some people just blow up and get like 1 million followers and brand deals. blogging these days is people don't read blogs the way they used to.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, we started blogs, right? You'd write a post and people would comment and there'd be like a chat
Mm-hmm.
and people would want to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, you just write a post like, this is what I did this week. And people like, oh, that's so cool. Like you can have a conversation. That happens way more just on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Blogs are now resources. Like, it's like, oh, you want to go to Colombia? Check my blog. And it's like resources.
Mm.
The community stuff, the stories, that's just more on social or YouTube. No, obviously I still, people still want to read a good story.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're a blogger and people following your blog, that you can still tell a good story.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't discover blogs the way like you used to discover blogs, like
Mm-hmm.
through comments, through just directories, just through, the fact that like blogs were it. And it was you either had a blog or you had a YouTube channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you have a YouTuber, you have a podcaster, you have a TikToker, a Snapchatter, an Instagrammer, right? And then like the blog is sort of like the smallest thing now because everything's sort of video forward.
Yeah. So someone has to be kind of like, I guess, omni-channel creator. I don't know what you call it. Just like someone who posts like videos, blogs, everything. You have to have like this whole web of content going out now, right?
I would say no, simply because I know a lot of Instagrammers who don't even have they have a blog URL. They have their URL because, they're not dumb, but like there's no content there, right? It's just like a link tree or a beacon that's like, here's a collection of links.
Yeah.
So I think, you should really do what you want to do and do it well. But if you want to be blog first, yeah, you need a blog and you need content. I think everyone should have a blog because even if you're like a YouTuber, right? People are going to ask you questions.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's going to, like, if you're like, hey, I'm going to Colombia, you can give them the video. But if you give them a blog post with everything there, you also get ad revenue,
Mm-hmm.
you get affiliate revenue, and you get a chance to get them to sign up on your email list.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with social media is you don't own any of that shit.
Yeah.
Same with Google. Like Google's still an algorithm at the end of the day. So if you are just on someone else's, it's like owning a condo, right? Like you may own that condo, but somebody owns the building.
Sam Parr, our buddy, he said building your business on social media is like having a storefront where the rent doubles every 18 months.
Yeah.
And it's probably even more aggressive than that now.
Yeah.
It's like follower dilution. There's a lot of fake accounts, bots. A lot of these numbers are kind of like maybe inflated to some degree. So yeah, I think that's scary when someone just builds something on Instagram only or whatever. And it's just like you get like one strike and they kick you off for a while and you're like, oh crap, my whole business is gone.
Yeah. Or you have these creators like complain about the algorithm and it's like, the algorithms always sucked, right? Google's shift to AI and deal with Reddit, so that like if you search stuff, it's like a lot of forums up top.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is, that drove a lot of people out of business because they were only SEO. And like at the end of the day, like, yeah, Google was my main source of traffic and still is, but I can't be upset at it. Like it's disappointing. Like it makes me have to rethink my business. But again, you have to have something else. So I can either pivot to social media for a little bit and then move to my email list or whatever. But if you're only in one place, again, like things change. Like right now, Instagram is doing these trial reels. Have you seen that?
No.
You can post a reel and you click trial reel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way to basically test virality. So like if it does good, it basically like does what TikTok does, right? TikTok, you make a TikTok and rather than send it out to everybody, it sends it to a small group of people to see how good it does. And if it does really good, it sends it to everybody. If it doesn't do well, it kind of like downvotes it in the algorithm.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And so this is doing it. But what's happening is like people are flooding Instagram with these like test reels, like 20, 30 a day just to figure out what works and then, moving that one forward. But that's causing congestion in people's feeds. So like people producing like real content, like are getting lower reach. And like, so like people have been complaining for the last month that like everyone, like stories aren't being seen, reels aren't being seen, like no one's commenting, like you're just not seeing what you like the people you follow.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, well, you're tied to this algorithm and like you're what Meta wants, Meta gets.
Yeah, it's follower inflation, follower dilution, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
Yeah.
it used to be if you posted any YouTube video, you get like 5,000 views just because like there was no content. Now it's like the opposite. There's so much good, awesome content. People with like movie studio grade stuff that are putting stuff out there that's what you're competing on. So if you're just recording on a Zoom call, like it's just like not as good anymore.
I mean, there's so much content out there. Like it's a fire hose of information.
Yep.
I mean, and I like the algorithm changed so much. Like I remember going back to like content on Instagram I had like 8 years ago,
Mhm.
and I have more likes and comments on it than I do now, and I'm like 8 times as big, And so it's just kind
Well, okay, so what do you think about this theory? I've been working through this. So on copywritingcourse.com and swipefile.com, copywriting course historically had tons of SEO traffic, and now it's going to Swipefile. And I've noticed something. I think there's like SEO 1.0 and SEO 2.0. SEO 1.0, the name of the game was like basically trying to trick Google to show you at the top, right? Giving Google all the right hints, the right H1 tags, the right meta tags to say like, I deserve to be at the top. I'm the best one for this query. Now we have AI. So Google is now sentient to some degree. It's smart. Like it's like a human. It knows contextually like this page is about this. Here's the important stuff. So, and then it could suck that up and regurgitate it to when someone asks a question. So they don't even need to go to your site anymore. However, I've noticed something. Our fifth most traffic source referral is now ChatGPT across both sites. And the traffic is good. Like it's YouTube quality good. YouTube historically being like the best traffic.
Yeah.
The most signups, the most on-page time, et cetera. And so we're just like, well, this is interesting, but like, what will the computer be interested in from now on? And at first, like most SEOs are like, oh, it's going to kill my site. And the answer is yes, it's going to kill their sites because your site is full of like 10 best things to do in whatever, or 10 best ways to clean your deck with paint, whatever. Now the AI is so smart, it knows all of that stuff from all those sites. It doesn't need you to show that post anymore. However, what it still does need is like human perspective, personal stories. It's almost coming back to what OG blogs were when we started. When we started, it'd be like, hey guys, here's my trip to Japan I took. I was backpacking. It's almost like a personal story that you write about yourself. That I think is what the AI is going to want in the near future. And then when you have an interesting perspective, interesting new images that you could feed the internet, I think it will start rewarding that stuff. And I'm actually kind of thinking, I'm just like, wait, so is old school blogging going to kind of make this weird comeback in a way, in just like a different form? What do you think of this concept? Meh?
Well, I definitely think the shift to AI is giving people. I think the shift to AI is giving people a desire to go back to, the analog stuff you're talking about, right? The OG stuff, because we want answers from humans, not robots. And I think, at least in the travel space, an AI can tell you, here's like the 10 things to see in Paris for a first time visitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they can't tell you why, right? It can't give you that human emotion that is so intrinsic to travel. It can't be like, this is what it smells like, it sounds like. It can feed that in from like stuff I have written,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a human.
Hmm.
So I think, at least in the travel space, I don't really see AI like taking people's jobs in the way it might if it's just sort of a basic thing, like I don't know, like what do I wear, right? Like a fashion blogger, right? In a way, like how do I tie a bow tie? Like AI can tell you that really easily, but AI can't convey what it's like to gaze at the pyramids, right? It can't give you that human emotion. And so I think people will get their basic stuff from AI as you're talking about. But yeah, I do think like there will be a trend back toward people to convey the experience. Whether that's in blogs, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think every time technology kills an industry, it reincarnates it a little bit different, but way bigger. I mean, easy examples like the horse and buggy thing, they all turned into like leather makers for car seats, and then it became bigger. Totally different, but like the same stuff, but just different. So I don't think blogs are just going to be like the OG way is going to like come back, because like you remember like making blogs, it took hours.
Yeah.
It's like people would brag they've spent 20, 30 hours on blog posts. Like that's just too much time. I think the way that they're going to come back is like you'll be able to just like upload a couple of photos, talk about your trip, AI transcribes it into an article. Right? ChatGPT can kind of already do this with its ChatGPT Canvas feature, and it works reasonably well. Not perfect, but you know, it's only 2 years old. So in 2 years, it'll probably be almost perfect. And so at that point, I'll be able to take a couple of things I did last weekend, upload it, and be like, here's what I remember, here's what it's, and it'll spit out a great article. Then Google or whatever search engine can ingest all that stuff. And then whenever someone asked a specific question about something, they could say, oh yeah, Neville had this experience over there. It was really cool. Here's what he said about it. And it links you kind of like a blue link on Google, but it's just like, here's a source for this. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the new way of getting traffic, is my totally uneducated opinion on it.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it that much, so I don't have an opinion on it.
Well, just because I even noticed my own queries for stuff that used to be as like 10 best things to do in Thailand or something like that. And now I'm going straight to ChatGPT, Grok, whatever, and asking, what can a 42-year-old do in Thailand if he's going to Koh Samui for these days and this? And it like gives you a much more customized thing than a blog post ever could.
Yeah, I think that Google's trying to do that. You're going to have that from all these like chatbots and, you know, whatever they are. So I definitely feel as if on a basic level, this stuff will change how people create content or write articles or, you know, just share their wisdom with the world, right? Because it's easy and it's fine and like it's good enough, and it will get better and it will be more highly personalized than, like you said, like a blog post, right? But I think at the end of the day, people will want to go to the source and be like, okay, now I have the basics, I need more, and they'll want to go to your site. And maybe you've put yourself into your own bot, right? Maybe there's like a Neville GPT, and you've trained it to ask that. But I feel like people are going to want human experience, and how that manifests itself in the future, like how we adapt, I don't know. Because I do agree, like traditional search is going to die. It's just like, it's just not going to be tailored enough. Like the days of going to Google and like clicking through hundreds of articles is going to be over.
I mean, I think one thing that's going to remain is branded searches.
Yes.
Branded searches were, so like, for example, 10 best things to do in Thailand. Cool. I don't care. I want to know what Nomadic Matt thinks about Thailand. Those searches, I'm sure you see in Google, are like by far the best. Like they're looking specifically for you.
Yeah. And I think that will continue to be true. Whether that's through search or, you know,
Instagram,
chatbot,
YouTube,
or whatever, you know, and that's what I would focus, like people should focus on, is like getting people to be like, search for me.
I've noticed my own searches. One, that they're going to AI or specific creators. Like there's like a Coco. She's like a travel blogger here, like in Austin.
Yeah. Coco, yeah.
Her name's Jane, but like Coco. And so I actually look up her stuff for certain things like glamping spots. Like I know she'll talk about glamping, and then like I look up like Coco glamping, and since she has so many posts on Instagram, it's difficult to like sort through a bunch of reels, but she's been smart about it. And like, she also has a website. So then it's like top 15 places Coco recommends for glamping. And then it has like the video, her thing. And then of course, like an affiliate link wherever she can put it. Cause why not? You make $40 off of a booking for free. Right. And so to me, I'm just like, I know she does a lot of glamping spots. What are her recommendations? And there's another guy like the ATX Drinker. He's like a guy at Austin that reviews all these bars, and I just kind of like his reviews and like how he thinks about it. And I'm just, so I look up his spots. So when I type in like best place to take a guest or whatever, I look up his stuff specifically, not just like random stuff necessarily.
No, I mean,
and that, I think that's power, because he has like some branding power, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a much better way to do it, because one of the problems is like people don't want to search 100 different things. And, when we were beginning this journey, there wasn't so much shit on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had all these content farms, and like, you don't know what's true, what's been updated recently, because people fake updates. You go to an article, it's like last updated. Yeah, but did they?
That's a WordPress plugin that just does that every 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, but did they? So the more information that's come on search, the less you can kind of trust it. And so I think branded stuff is important. And Jane does a good job of directing people to a website, where there's still a lot of creators that don't have websites, which boggles my mind.
Hey, it's Neville here, and let me tell you something about making all this content. It costs time and money and effort to make all of these things, and we put them out for free. For example, to film this costs money. To edit this costs money. To spend the time uploading it to all the different social networks costs time and human capital and money and software and all kinds of stuff. And all I ask for you in return is to just like, subscribe, and comment to something. This is a free way that you can return to me. You never have to buy anything from me ever, but I really do ask that you just click the like button. It's free for you. Or maybe even leave a comment, or maybe share it with someone. These are all ways that really, really help me out, but cost you nothing. And it's a great way to return the favor. So if you like whatever I do over here, just make sure to like, subscribe, comment on all the different platforms, and that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I hope to keep informing you, educating you, and entertaining. Talk to you later.
You started doing Instagram videos, and you never were like a video guy before. You were always like a pure blogging guy, or at least that's how you started. And now it's just like, you can't ignore that video is like freaking big, right?
Yeah.
And instead of like reading about something, you can literally just watch someone walking through a spot. And instead of reading about Santorini, I can like watch a video, on my phone, like in the background or something about Santorini. And so I think people, I'm assuming it's heavily shifted towards video.
100%.
Like people who are like popular travel bloggers likely are video first now, I would assume.
Yeah. The new wave of
the young whippersnappers.
The young
probably all
whippersnappers
doing
are all YouTubers or video first Instagrammers.
Do you notice, like, can you tell, are they usually like both, like Instagram and YouTube, or are they just like
Very
one or the
few.
other?
Like normally there's this Kara and Nate, they're like these big YouTubers, or Drew Binsky and or Lost LeBlanc, and they have big YouTube channels, and they just cut their videos into reels. So there's more crossover with YouTubers into Instagram than there is from Instagrammers into YouTube.
Yeah, because Instagram is usually shorter, like vertical video, and then it's hard to adapt that to YouTube.
Yeah,
it's easy to adapt a widescreen long video into a short video.
Yeah. So normally the ones that are bigger on both, they're actually bigger on YouTube.
Oh, so like Drew Binsky, I think he's like a YouTube first guy.
Yeah, but he cuts his stuff up, and has like 1 million followers on Instagram because he's just sharing those videos. Or Mark Wiens, he's a food guy. He was YouTube first, and then he just cuts his videos up for Instagram.
Huh. Do you ever see it the other way, where like people get famous on Instagram, but then it also translates well to YouTube? Because I see that far less.
Yeah, I don't see that in the travel.
It doesn't
space.
happen all that much.
Yeah, because for the same reason you said, you can't move like a 10-second video or 30-second video into YouTube. I mean, that's YouTube Shorts, but that's not primarily what YouTube is.
And that's also, I think, like Colin Samir, the social media guys, they always talk about this. It's like Shorts, you can't deny that the numbers are big, but the attention is low. Yeah. So most people would rather have 100 solid YouTube views than like 1,000 short views.
Yeah.
1,000 short, like I have videos that have done millions and no impact. No one bought anything. No one did anything.
I don't think
interesting video.
And YouTube also makes it hard on shorts to like take next steps, right? Like the interface for YouTube Shorts is terrible. Like they put so much text above it. Like I watch a lot of like YouTube Shorts about poker,
Mhm.
And so like I watch a lot of hands, and like half the time I can't see what's going on because like YouTube has all like the video stuff over it.
Mm.
And then if I want to go to the person's site or there's like not a lot of description, there's like it's hard to do call to action.
Mhm.
Whereas like and honestly, I don't think I followed anybody ever from watching YouTube short. I just let it randomly. It's like TikTok. It's like just let the algorithm generate random stuff.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, it's but whereas like a YouTube video, yeah, you can like I click more and there's like links I can see. I can read the whole thing. I can, jump from parts. It's like there's more effort. And from there, I usually follow people or join an email list or click a link.
Yeah, I mean, the new discovery layer of the internet is short form videos.
Yeah.
And you might actually see someone's stuff like 70 times forever subscribing. And in fact, I have a trick like on Instagram. I primarily use Instagram Reels and then YouTube Shorts. And if I like a creator, I don't want to follow them because like you get like too much of their stuff. Sometimes I see some place that posts cool drawings or visuals and I'm like, I don't want to see this all the time. I just want to see it sometimes. So you like that video and then it knows like, okay, later show him some more of their stuff.
Yeah.
But don't like barrage him with it. Reddit is really bad about that. You like one post from like a subreddit, your whole feed turns into that subreddit. You're like, I want it, but not all of it. So yeah, that is kind of the new discovery layer. Are you seeing more and more people doing short form versus long form, or just like the long form people have what it takes to actually go like become super famous?
I mean, I know a lot of just Instagram only or TikTok only travel creators who crush it. Absolutely crush it.
When we say crush it, you mean like with money too? not
Money
views.
and followers. Yeah.
What are they doing for money if they're just doing mostly short form?
Brand deals.
So like the Four Seasons or something will pay them.
Yeah. Or, they'll have like a multi-month contract with Expedia or whatever, and they'll post affiliate links here and there, and they might not have a site, but like 90% of their income is coming from sponsor content. Because that's like, there's no really other way to monetize, right? I mean, you could use some things to like sell your books or whatever, but most of these creators don't have their own product, or a well-developed website. It's an afterthought.
Here's an interesting thing. There's a guy that joined our copywriting course community. His name is Joe. And I think his site's called ShallWeGoTravel. And so he has a site, and he basically talks about South America. He like travels all around South America, Colombia, Brazil, etc. So he knows South America like particularly well, and that's like his niche. And so he does like have some SEO that goes there and stuff, and that's something. And he was approaching us about selling a travel guide, and it was like $10. And I was just like, man, I just feel like if you're going to invest time in this, like a $10 travel guide, in my opinion, is not going to do so hot in the age of like AI. I mean, I feel like you can have ChatGPT make you a travel guide specifically for you, for your route, for your time of the year, instantly, right? Like having a travel guide probably doesn't work as well. Have you noticed that like travel guides have gone down at all? Because you used to sell travel guides, right?
I still do.
Yeah. Are people still buying them at the same rate, or like
just naturally over time, like products decline, right?
If they're not updated?
The problem with So to counter your argument, I do think people buy travel guides, and they would buy this guy's travel guide. The problem with ChatGPT is that it's still reliant on content that's scraping from the internet. Travel changes so quickly that the content it's getting from might not be updated. I've asked ChatGPT many questions, and sometimes it's just wrong. I'm like, that museum is closed. Let me look at your source. And it's, a dated article.
What?
And so, but I would say that people would likely buy that guide because they follow him. So they want his opinion in one place.
Yeah.
Would it have like widespread distribution where a lot of strangers might buy it? I don't know. I mean, I know these two creators, they've started a Japan account and they sell a $50 PDF, which is, good for them. But they have so many, like that combined, they're like 1 million followers, right? So like they don't need a lot of people to make a lot of money, just because their follower count is so high. but they do pretty good. And I think, I wouldn't sell it for $10. I'd sell it for 20. We sell our guys for 20. And I think, we probably make a few grand a month.
I mean, I've just seen other travel bloggers do that. And something interesting else that he did was we were brainstorming different ways. I'd be like, can you charge like a higher service cost? Because eventually what's going to happen, I know ChatGPT goes based off of kind of like older articles and stuff, but the thing is that's a very solvable problem. If you use like ChatGPT deep research and stuff, you start to see the early hints of it. And the reason most people don't play with these, it costs, it's like the expensive tier that you have to pay for. But what happens is it's now reading transcripts of videos. So all those outdated articles, I agree. And since no one's being rewarded to write articles anymore, it's reliant on very old ass information. But what's happening is the transcriptification of all these videos. So now all the very up-to-date YouTube videos, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok, those are all being scraped as well. And you'll see next versions of ChatGPT have this as native to where the information will be very up to date. So that's what I was kind of telling people. I was just like, if you just look at where the hockey puck is going in like a year or two, like I know it's going based off of outdated information now, but that is not going to be the case in about 2 years. I don't think that.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
So here's what he did that was kind of interesting. He started essentially like a reincarnated travel service where he knows so much like specific information about places that's difficult to convey that he says, instead of buying a $10 guide for $250, I'll help you plan your trip. Hop on the phone with me and we'll chat. And so he gets on the phone. He's like, where do you want to go? How long? And generally these are people going for like 3 months at a time. And from what I gleaned from this is like maybe 10% of them are on like a pretty specific budget, but most of them are kind of like, we got money, we're fine. So let's do anything. So it's not like a budget thing, but he's been selling these like multi-$100 like concierge services that's done way better than the travel guides, which is kind of interesting. Have you seen other people do that kind of thing where they're like kind of like travel agent 2.0?
Yeah, I know a few people that have pivoted to that. And I think that will probably become more relevant and more prevalent as information becomes so like commodity. Like information is already a commodity. But there's still like enough of a gap left where you can still sell an ebook about, Iceland or South America or whatever, right? But like you said, the better off the AI gets and the more updated it gets and the more it can pull in from current sources, the less that becomes relevant. AI is still within the sphere of like young tech savvy people, but once it makes the leap into like your parents, right? Like then game over. And then what is your competitive advantage? It's the fact that you know this firsthand and it's all in your head and you could be super hyper specific and customized and more personalized in a way that an AI can't. Yeah, sure. Maybe in the future an AI could do what you're doing, but when you're planning travel, you still want it from a human because like they've been there, they've done that, and you want to ask them questions. You want to be like, well, what does that smell like? Well, did you feel safe? Like,
yeah. And so I think that's a big part of it. He was saying that like a lot of people, you're going to like Colombia and stuff, people are like, is it safe? And he's just like, well, certain areas certainly are. And then there's some also nuances to that kind of stuff. And then there's also like, let's say someone's taking a bus ride and it's advertised like a 4-hour bus ride. He knows for a fact that none of these places make it in 4 hours. Like that's if there's no traffic, but there's always traffic, like things like that. And he can actually save people days of time. And then like some countries are more strict on passport stuff, visa stuff, and have like these little dumb rules that hold you up that you could do online beforehand. So you sail through instead of spending 17 hours at a checkpoint. So he knows all those like very specific things. And I still think that's stuff that AI would have a hard time conveying, at least in the next year or two.
Yeah. And that's where I would tell people to go. Yeah. Sell your knowledge and your experience, your ability to craft something more personalized. Because like you as a human know what to ask, right? Like okay, like ChatGPT can come back to you and be like, can you clarify these things? But like, if you and I have a conversation, I can get a sense of like what you like. And like, I've been there, I've done that. Like, oh, you're going to like this place. Or I can ask those questions that only someone who's been there is going to be able to be like, ask to know where to get the answer. Right.
As you're doing Instagram and more video stuff, like, was it like jarring to go to video? Was it like a whole new skill you had to learn?
I absolutely hate video. I hate being on video. I hate being on camera. I even hate being on camera right now. I like just want to be behind words. And it's why I don't do a lot of video. And it's also why like I also don't do a lot of brand deals because they want video first creation. And you know, I put out reels and I'm getting better at it. But it's just like, you know, Ankur Nagpal from Teachable, right? We were talking about this and like, I was like, oh, I think my quote unquote generation of the internet is like, it's time to pass the torch over. You know, like I just hate video. He's like, you know, you think in words. Kids who are starting these days, Gen Z or whatever, they think in video. Like they know because they watch it, they've grown up with it. They can conceptually, like they know hooks. They like, it's just like second nature to them. Like, you know, I watch my social media person use CapCut, and like what would take me hours to do is just like, and I'm not tech dumb, right? Like I understand how things work, but even then, like they're just doing it the way blogging is second nature to us, and like so, it's just not my communication language. Like I don't know how to communicate in a video.
So how are the results been? So now that you've started trying to put stuff out on Instagram and stuff, I see like some of your things go viral and stuff. Like what's you getting hit rate? What's your opinion of like doing it? Is it worth the time?
I mean, if I want to stay relevant and succeed, I'm going to have to do more of it. So there's a question of like, is the juice worth the squeeze in terms of like, what are my future goals? And I don't have an answer for that. Like, because I don't know my future goals. I just finished my book. I have another book in my mind. You know, I want to write that. I still want to learn video and I want to do it to keep up, but it's always frustrating when I think I have a good video and it goes nowhere, and then like something stupid gets lots of views, and or like I just don't like video, you know, but if I want to keep doing this, I'm gonna have to do at least some video. I don't need to do YouTube, because also YouTube is a whole, like, I mean, I've tried to do YouTube in the past, and that's like running a blog, right? You need to be there 100%. It needs to be your
It's super hard.
You like, if you're going to do YouTube, you have to go all in on YouTube. So like, I would have to completely pivot and just give up the blog to spend all my time on YouTube. But with social media, I can get a couple of reels out, you know, every week, or, you know, one a week, and it will still do enough to grow the account. But YouTube, you have to just be consistent. You have to be edited. It has to be long form. It's like, and the competition is, as you said, so tough these days, right? Like back 10 years ago, and you know, Drew Binsky will tell you this, or, you know, Kara and Nate, and there was Fun for Louie, and Hey Nadine, and and Kristen from Hotshot's The Globe, and it was all like, hey guys, like I'm in Colombia, like, you know, like first person vlogging, right? That doesn't, like, that's not what gets people watching these days. It's polished videos. It's like crazy hooks. Like, here I am sleeping with lions. Do I survive? Well, obviously you survive, but like, watch this, right? Like Drew Binsky's like, or like, I'm going to sleep in the smallest room in the world. Like, it's like very, you know, gotcha, like crazy stuff. Like that kind of vlogging stuff doesn't exist. And all the videos are super well done. They have editing teams. They, you know, it's just really, it's professionalized, right? You know, and
I mean, yes, But also, I think there's different like pockets. It's kind of like the internet. Like there's certain there's like giant blogs and there's small little specific niche things, right? So, for example, if I was looking up like getaway things, like the little A-frame houses you can rent around town, and I wanted to see reviews. I'm like, are these things cool? So I was watching people's getaway experiences, and some of these had like a few thousand views, some of them even a few hundred views. It's not like a very popular search query, but I would say that their affiliate links probably make more than some of the big travel accounts that are just based off ad revenue. So even though they have like small viewership, it's like someone interested in buying, and then if I click their link and they get a little affiliate commission, that's pretty cool for them. However, I think some of the top YouTube videos around still, or channels, are still like kind of like dudes vlogging with the phone. There's one called Outdoor Boys that I watch, where it's like a dad and some of his kids sometimes, and they go like, "Hey, I'm going to go out in the Alaska bush and see if I can survive on the ocean." Which, you're right, that is kind of hooky.
Yeah.
But like the guy is filming it with a selfie stick and an iPhone. Like this is the whole production over here. It looks really crappy. It's not the best thing, but it's edited in a way that you just watch. It's interesting. So I don't know. I think there still is like some level of like just talent, or some people just have like this thing that makes them interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Pat Flynn, you know, Pat Flynn.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
He's got his Pokemon channel, and it's just him and his son in front of like their little setup talking about cards and stuff.
Yeah.
But
that's like old form blogging, like reincarnated in video. And it's honestly easier than blogging because it's video.
yeah.
And once you edit video, it's not that hard to do.
But I'm just saying, in the travel space,
yeah.
you know, as we were talking about it, I wouldn't pivot into YouTube simply because it's way too much work. One, too much work. I'm not a natural on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather do the vloggies like, hey guys, I'm in Colombia, rather than like these polished things that I see all the top people doing. Like, I mean, I watch a lot of travel YouTube and I see what they're doing, and it's not like it was before. Whereas I still think Instagram and TikTok to an extent can be very vloggy. Like, you don't have to have polished stuff. It's like, hey, I'm doing this, like, check this out. A couple of quick cuts and a voiceover, and like
TikTok's all like those selfie, just like shitty green screen, like computer green screen.
That's enough, you know?
Yeah.
And so I like that because I don't have to worry about editing as much.
Here's something interesting about you. You're very political online. So your posts are not like, I'd say more of your posts on, or at least certain channels, are more political than anything. To me, this seems like dicey area. Do you ever get in trouble for this? Like, what's your thoughts about like mixing those two worlds?
In trouble how?
I feel like there's always like some people that like this side and like that side, and then like trying to make a statement about it. You're just going to get in trouble from one side or the other. You'll get love from the other side. I personally don't post like political stuff online, at least for like on any of my personal accounts or anything. I just don't. I don't know what the point for me is. Like, I don't have strong feelings either way, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what's the point? Am I going to change someone's mind or something? I'm not out to do that, so I just don't engage in that. You do all the time. Is that just...
I love, you know me. I mean, we're friends. I love politics, right?
Yeah, it's like your entertainment, kind of.
You know, so in Threads, I'm very political. I was always political on Twitter, too. Because I follow a lot of journalists. I engage in that stuff. On the blog... not so much. I like travel. Rick Steves, a famous travel writer, has a book called Travel as a Political Act.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, like, you cannot talk about travel without sometimes talking about politics, right? Because the politics of a country could affect your safety. You know, what are the rules? What are the laws? You know, same with going on, like right now, like if you love the national parks, right? You know, they're cutting jobs and lowering the budget. So it's also like, well, how is that going to affect your summer trip to Yosemite, right? With fewer rangers. And so sometimes you just like, they are intertwined in some ways, right? You know, if you're going to go over to Thailand, right? You got to talk about the politics of Thailand, because like, if you say anything about the king, you're going to end up in a Thai jail. So like, you have to kind of talk sometimes about it. But I also think that I talk about it because I love politics, and I'm, it's like my second, love behind travel. Um, and it's no secret I don't like Donald Trump. And sometimes I express like I try to be fairly neutral in the sense of like if I'm going to bring up politics on the blog or the newsletter, like I'm doing it is like, hey, they're cutting the park service. Here's how it will affect your trip, or you know, just go vote. Like and sometimes even just saying that, both sides come at me. Like during the election, I'm just like, hey, everybody, just show up and vote. And then it's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, literally all I said is go vote. I don't care. I literally said, I don't want to know who you're voting for. Just remember you live in democracy. That's important. And so most of the time I get it from both sides. I'm either not liberal enough or I'm too liberal. So normally I think, that's pretty good. But I try to only talk about politics on the bigger channels. Threads is just like me and my hobbies. I talk about movies. I talk about politics. I woke up feeling hungover. Like it's just like the random thought feed. The other channels, I try to only talk about politics as it relates to something travel related. What's going on with the FAA, right? What is going on with the parks? Like, how's the situation in Ukraine going to affect your European travels? Like, or what's what will tariffs do to the price of your trip, or whatever this is going to be? I don't really address, I get really yelled at for not addressing what's going on in Gaza, right? But that's not, as you said, I'm not changing anyone's mind, and it's not relevant to travel. Or at least how I talk about travel. Yeah, if I was talking about travel in the Middle East, there could be some relevancy there. But I just don't I don't see a point most of the time talking about bigger issues because you're not going to change anyone's mind. And then there's no point. I have a lot of travel friends who just mum about anything political related, because what's the point? And so I try to only bring it up if it relates to something that will be travel related, at least on the main feeds. If you go on my threads, I will bitch all day about politics. It will be like travel. I saw this movie. I found a new restaurant. Fuck these things. Fuck these politicians. Fuck this initiative. XYZ.
Does that lose you followers, or?
I have had, on the occasional times I have brought up stuff, I have gotten Instagram DMs from people being like, I'm unfollowing you because you're liberal and, you're making me, I'm conservative. And it's like, okay, well, that post was just about what the cuts to the National Park Service, what you should know about. Because if you're going to Yellowstone and there's no rangers, you should know about what that means for you. But I've also lost liberal people because I didn't talk about Gaza enough, or I didn't talk about, or I live, in Texas, and they're like, why aren't you talking about this law or that law? And so it's like, you can never win. And honestly, I'm like, listen, up until I said this one thing, you liked all my advice. My politics doesn't mean my tips to what to see in Paris is any less relevant. But if you're going to get that weird about it, that's more of a you thing.
Are the political posts generally the most highest impression posts?
No, actually not. On Threads, yes. Two things on Threads that do really well for me is Taylor Swift, because I'm a huge Swiftie. So, and politics. Those are the ones that garner the most stuff. But a lot of that stuff is just bots. On the best way for me to lose followers on Instagram is actually to post about Taylor Swift. If I'm like, hey, I'm at a Taylor Swift concert, people are like, she sucks. And then they unfollow me. I'm like, you really unfollow me because I like music you don't? People are so weird on the internet. It's like Ramit. Ramit is very political. Ramit Sethi, Teach You to Be Rich.
Yeah.
Super political. And like but he loves that. Like he loves to feed the trolls. I know myself enough that I will want to have an argument with somebody online, and then I'll like lose like half my day. And I'll be like, what was this point? My opinion hasn't changed. So what are we talking about again?
Just political stuff when it doesn't necessarily relate to the thing. Now I think I know Ramit and like I know he definitely is like more political recently. I didn't notice it when he was like back in the day. I didn't notice it as much then.
He's very political now.
I would say,
yeah. Since Trump won, the first term, he's gotten more political. But he does always say, money is political. And that's true because what happens in Washington will affect your tax rates. The laws on home ownership will affect your house price. So like you can't talk about money without talking about the politics of money. Because
I think there's a way to like broach it, and then there's like the Ramit way. Well, I'm not saying it's the wrong way. He definitely loves playing with trolls, and that has been consistent for a long time.
Oh yeah.
I remember he had like what is now I guess not the most uncontroversial opinion. I guess it still kind of is that like home ownership is not good for everyone. Whereas like especially back when we were all starting, like especially like 2005 or whatever, when it's just like, of course, buying a house was your only goal in life is to buy a house, and the quicker the better. And Ramit's like, not really, not for everyone, not unless you meet these criteria. And that was like a very contrarian opinion that he was very early and vocal about.
Yeah.
And that would always set off this whole like firestorm of comments of like, no, you're an idiot, da-da-da. My grandfather sold his house and made $8 million, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's all these like both sides that have very strong opinions about it. And I think that's probably where he got the idea of just like, this is kind of fun to like argue with these people and then like quote retweet them. So it's almost kind of like part of his vibe or strategy.
Yeah, it's definitely like strategy, marketing.
Like, it is his way of like, you know how like there's a lot of reaction videos on the internet where they show someone doing something stupid and then comment on it. And so I think that's a way to teach people about stuff. Like this is a legitimate way of like, look what this guy is saying, so passionate about buying a home, but here's the reasons that this could be wrong. So I think he's like really leaned into it.
Yeah, he's he loves it. That's part of his like shtick, but like that works for him, and I think because he's talking about money and politics, like there are things that work. I mean, he's clearly very liberal, and like he doesn't hide that fact. But he's also like very common sense about money. Like his argument, like before you buy a home, run the numbers is actually not that controversial.
That's a reasonable argument. Of course, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything political about that. That's just like common sense.
But like that sets people off.
Yeah.
Or like he'll be like, oh, like my grandfather sold his home for $8 million. He'll be like, okay, how many years did he own the home? Add that all in, divide that. What's his rate of return? Oh, 6%. Well, if you put in the S&P, you would have got 10. And he's just like, if you want to own a home. Just like do it for the right reasons. But I guess
it just depends if you thrive on that kind of talk. I would go insane doing that. I don't want to hear people's opinions on that kind of stuff.
Which is exactly why I only talk about politics on my main channels if it relates to travel. Like I'm not there being like, oh my God, they did this. Oh my God, they did that. Or I love this. Right. It's just, you never change anyone's side.
So that's your stack. Like Threads is like your little testing ground for like anything goes. I'm hungry, post it. I don't like this political thing, post it. And then it filters to Instagram, your blog, etc.
Yeah. Like if I see something which, that does okay, and I end up having a conversation with not trolls, it might spark an idea and then I'll write something longer about it. Like, I included on Instagram, is it safe to fly? Talking about the FAA, the crashes, Trump gutting the FAA, which, they fired 400 people out of like 30,000 and none of them were air traffic controllers, so it's like, slow down, but that becomes my testing ground for like things. And it also like sparks ideas too, and or like if you get in a conversation and people will be like, they'll bash a country I know really well. I'll be like, okay, this isn't true. And then I'll be like, okay, well, where did they get these ideas? And then it'll be like, well, this is actually a good article to talk about politics and news shapes your perception of the world and why travel can actually be, why you should go travel, because like you learn firsthand that the news is most likely wrong about a place.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So where can people find this book? Can I order it online?
Yeah, you can. How to Travel the World on $75 a day will teach you how to travel on a budget. And it's not just about $75 a day. It's just like everything about how to always find the best deal, never overpay, meet locals, get off the beaten path. 20 years, Matt GPT is in this book.
Hey, Matt GPT.
Okay, Matt, this is Matt GPT, right? And you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, wherever books are sold.
Nice. Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Dumbledore here. You may see me from some of this content and wonder, what does this guy do? So my main thing we have is called copywritingcourse.com. All it is it's a simple video course that trains you how to become a great copywriter, write better emails, sales pages, promotions, email sequences, all those types of things, but also it is part service, meaning we have this really advanced behind the scenes forum where you can upload your stuff and myself and other writers will go improve it. And the easiest way to improve stuff for us is just rewriting stuff. So let's say you have a cold email that you're reaching out to thousands of people with. You upload that, give us some background information, and we can go rewrite it in the way that we see people get better conversions every single time. So you're getting myself, professional writers, and the community giving you suggestions saying, hey, I think that's more confusing. What if you write it this way? A lot of times I prefer just rewriting the whole thing and sending it to you, maybe making a couple of images to put in there. And then the other thing we do is we have live weekly office hours. That means every week, a couple of people, just a small portion, come on to calls with me live, and we go through about 8 questions each time. Now, just remember, only about 1% or less of the community will ask a question on each office hours. So you will get time to chat directly with me. And I do these myself. So we'll talk to people for 5 to 20 minutes each, going over their stuff. And the cool thing is, let's say I make some recommendations. You can go make those changes and then come back the next week and be like, what do you think of these? And then we can modify it more and more and more until you get it nice and tight and solid. So that's what the copywriting course is. It's self-paced training. It's live forum, live office hours. And what our goal is whatever you spend on us within that same year, you get 10x or more back. So if you spend a certain amount of money, my goal is always that my training and help will make you 10x more back. Now, I can't always prove and guarantee that, but at the same time, this happens with so many people that it's always my goal with customers. So go to copywritingcourse.com and join. And I hope you're pleasantly surprised with our service. People say it's the best course community that they've ever joined in their entire lives. So I hope you have the same result, and I'll see you inside. Take care.